Hello there, White Sox fans. How is everyone doing? And did you catch that game on Sunday? What a way to finish off that short two-game series against the Cubs. A game that, in a lot of ways, we shouldn't have won. White Sox offense it's been underperforming so much lately. Fortunately, we walked away with the W, taking 3 out of 4 on the season against the Cubs. And maybe more importantly, something going on within the team. Hopefully, they're seeing that, hey, if we need to score a run or two to keep the game going, we can do that. The offense has been struggling so much lately that it was nice to see some life, even if the life didn't appear at all until after the ninth inning. Because again, the only run that was scored was on a wild pitch up to that point. Before I just jump into it all, I want to talk briefly about what we will be going over today. And since I haven't done a video in way too long, this is going to be a much longer episode. We're going to take our time. We're going to talk about a lot of things, all things White Sox. So consider this like a podcast. You can have it playing in the background. But I will first go over all the topics. And of course, as always, there will be chapter markers if you want to skip around to a certain topic. This is going to be your place to make your picks for the month of June for first White Sox player in the month of June. So that starts tomorrow, Wednesday. First White Sox player to hit a home run in the month. Top offensive performer and top starting pitcher. And, well, hey, there's some changes going on when it comes to the roster. One guy that definitely won't be eligible to be picked, as if anybody would have picked him anyway, Dallas Keuchel. He's gone. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Also, there's some shifting going on where Luis is back. Great news. Tim Anderson is not. Bad news. We're going to take a look at the White Sox stats for the month of May. That might inform your pick a little bit. Also, I want to talk about that controversial play. It was called right by the letter of the law. There's nothing controversial about how it went down. But still, this is something that baseball, for all the little rules that they've changed, how is this still an issue? A player running just barely on the left side of the foul line considered obstructing the view, running out of the baseline. That's nonsense. For all the other rules that have been changed, how has that not been addressed yet? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. That was, of course, a pivotal play that went against the White Sox in the later innings against the Cubs on Sunday. We're going to take a look at some minor league White Sox stats. We haven't done that yet this year. And again, with Dallas Keuchel being gone, not only is that positive for this year, and honestly, I don't wish ill for anyone. He, I think, still has something to prove. Now he definitely has a lot to prove. I think he's still got talent, something left in the tank. I hope he can latch on with a team like the Pirates, some team that doesn't really have anything to play for, to try to work out his issues. It's a difficult thing when it comes to being a veteran. If he was a younger player, the Sox would have just sent him to the minor leagues where he could work out his issues and hopefully come back improved. It doesn't work like that for veterans. They have the right of refusal. They can say that, no, you're not going to send me down. I can elect to become a free agent, which is why they just kind of avoid that whole thing altogether and just DFA, designate for assignment, a player like that. I don't think helps anybody in that situation, but it is kind of a right of a veteran player to be able to refuse going down to the minors. That could have prolonged his career, or at least his season with the White Sox. Whatever the case, he's gone. So what does Dallas Keuchel being off the books mean for next season? Now, the White Sox, of course, still have to pay what they owe him this year. Unlike football, contracts are actually contracts, so you have to honor them. $14.1 million still left to be paid to Dallas Keuchel this year without him being on the team, plus a $1.5 million buyout of next year's option. So there's still money going to Dallas Keuchel, but we've definitely effectively removed him from the book. So we're going to take a look at the 2023 budget a little bit today. And finally, we'll end up with who I am going to pick for my picks to click for the month of June. As I mentioned, the great news, and I like to start with the good news, Luis Robert, however you want to say him, La Pantera, we'll just go with. He is coming back to the team, which is great because he was easily our most productive power hitter on the season overall. He ended up not missing that much time, but his absence was still felt because he is such an important part of this team. Few batters barrel up the ball and can drive it as intensely far as he can. Of course, he also contributes so much to the outfield. The White Sox, we probably didn't miss that as much because Adam Engel and A.J. Pollock are a couple of great center field options that we have, which is really awesome. Awesome that we have that kind of depth. Over the last couple of years, we've had some substantial injuries to a number of players, and we've been able to weather it. It has definitely worked against us. It's been a tough thing to get through, but the White Sox have a deep team, and that should be appreciated and acknowledged a little bit here or there. On the other side of things, the most productive hitter overall on the year is definitely Tim Anderson, and he just went on the injured list, retroactive to just a couple days ago. Hopefully he misses the minimum. It is a groin pull injury. We saw him get injured on a play against the Cubs on Sunday. He is the spark plug. He's the table setter. To use a 2005 analogy, he is our Scotty Pods. He's the guy that gets on base all the time. And he's been great base stealing, 8 for 8 in stolen base attempts this year, and including in the game he got injured in. So he was definitely feeling perfectly fine up until that moment. Hopefully it's a minor injury and he is just lost for the bare minimum amount of time. But at the same time, if there's an injury, take care of it. Make sure you're 100% back, because we don't want this to become a nagging injury that carries on throughout the entire season and leaves him playing at less than 100%. He's too important to this team to rush back. On that note, I don't know a lot of information when it comes to Yoan Moncada. He has been dealing with a little bit of a nagging injury that kept him out of the lineup for a while. They think he is not expected to end up on the injured list at all. He did pinch hit on Sunday, but that was his only playing time in a while. With off days happening on Friday and then Monday, hopefully that gave him extra time, and we'll see if he's in the lineup tonight, because I think he's an important member of this team. He hasn't been this year, and he hasn't been for big stretches of last year as well, because he's dealt with ineffectiveness. He's dealt with lingering issues. It's been a difficult time for Yoan ever since he got COVID back in 2020. He has had some other issues, of course, earlier this year. An oblique injury put him on the injured list, made him start the season much later. So I said he was an important player on this team. He has the potential to be. He really isn't right now. But he has a bat that if it gets hot, he is a guy that can lead this team, which is, oh man, how nice would that be if suddenly we have another really, really strong hitter appearing. Instead, we're getting absolutely nothing from Yoan. On the positive, Jake Berger has been a welcome addition to the team, getting called back up when Luis went on his injured list, and he has sometimes just brought all of the offense that the White Sox have experienced. And sometimes that kind of youthful infusion is exactly what the team needs, and Jake Berger has been a team leader lately. So when we think about players going on or coming off of the injured list, we also have to think, how does that affect the rest of the team as far as who's getting playing time? So Luis is coming back, so that means somebody else will be losing playing time, because of course Luis, if he's fully healthy, he's going to be playing nonstop in center field. And actually, as I'm recording this now, we've got Vaughn in left, Sheets in right, and Adam Engel in center. So he's not in the lineup tonight, but he is expected to come back during the current series against Toronto. So once Luis is back fully in the lineup, who's going to lose that playing time? And I think it is going to be primarily Adam Engel. He will become that speedster off the bench. When we have an outfield array of Engel, Luis, and Pollock, I would argue that might be the best defensive outfield in all of baseball. Those are three guys that are legit center fielders. Pollock, yes, he's a little bit past his prime and maybe a step slower than he was at his peak, but he's still a very, very solid fielder. Oh, and coincidentally, as we're talking about A.J. Pollock, it's kind of worth noting that Craig Kimbrell just last night blew his first save of the year for the Dodgers, picked up his first loss as well. He hasn't been great, although it is, again, just his first blown save. He has a 4.80 ERA on the year. I'm thinking that they probably wish they brought Kenley Jansen back. He does have 10 saves on the year, so he's not having a terrible season. And again, not rooting or wishing ill on players, but it is always just interesting to see how former White Sox players are doing. As we know also, speaking of the Cubs and former White Sox, Nick Madrigal is really off to a bad start with the year. For the year with the Cubs. And of course, he's been injured for a while. I think he's probably going to be coming back fairly soon. I do wish the best for him, but I'm glad we didn't have to face him the other day. But speaking of closers that actually are having a great year, yes, I can go on and on about Liam. He started out a little rusty, a little shaky, but he's been a lot of fun to watch lately. But mother of God, Josh Hader with Milwaukee. He has made 18 appearances this year, has 18 saves, and has an ERA of 0. He hasn't allowed anything this year across 18 saves. That is impressive. So while I think Adam Engel will end up going to that bench bat, that bench role, maybe he'll be a defensive replacement, a pinch runner type again. I think Gavin Sheets is also going to miss some time. Hopefully A.J. Pollock is still able to get regular reps in the outfield. Today's lineup has Sheets in one corner and Andrew Vaughn in the other. And while I like both of those players, they're not the rangiest of outfielders, so it's kind of tough to have them both in the outfield at the same time. I really would like one of those two to be your designated hitter. At designated hitter, by the way, Yasmani Grandal has been in the lineup almost constantly, which is not common for a catcher to be getting this high level of at-bats. But partially that's because he's been able to play as designated hitter a lot. Reese McGuire, doing decent, I mean, hey, he's a backup catcher. What do you want from him? He's doing pretty well. I still think I would take him over Zach Collins without question. Although there's somebody interesting that we'll talk about when we look at the White Sox minor league stats. Somebody that might challenge Reese McGuire. With Tim Anderson going on the injured list, again, hopefully for just, 9 more days after today, who's going to pick up those reps? It's probably going to be Danny Mendick. We will take a look at some minor league options as well. Leury Garcia, I mean, he always seems to find his way into the lineup. For the immediate future, the left side of our infield is Jake Berger, who, again, he's stepped up nicely, but he's not what we pictured. Jake Berger and Danny Mendick, and that seems like a bit of a weak spot. We'll, again, take a look at the minor leagues to see if there's a different option to Danny Mendick. And this just really makes you think about what happens when Eloy is back as well. There's just not going to be enough plate appearances for everybody, so somebody is going to really lose a lot of playing time, maybe even lose a roster spot. If you had an outfield that was Eloy, Luis, and we'll say Pollock, or Vaughn in right, there's just not enough playing time for everybody. So, there's the weird silver lining to so many injuries is that people are actually able to get some time in and continue to play. However, I'll take Luis and Eloy over anybody else in our lineup when it comes to who I want to have in left and center. One person I don't worry about losing time, I don't think Andrew Vaughn's going to lose time. I think he will play a lot in right field and he'll get some DH time. But if he doesn't lose time, then that really is going to fall heavily to Gavin Sheets losing time. And again, he's just one of these guys that I think if everybody was healthy, he would get really squeezed out of playing time fully. Would he become a trade piece in the future as we take a look at maybe bolstering some other part of our lineup? Fortunately, when everybody's healthy and Sheets might get squeezed out of playing time, there is a minor league option remaining for him, so we can safely send him down to the minors without losing him. Speaking of injured list, Lance Lynn, he is somebody that should be coming back in the middle of this month, maybe give it a week or two, but I think 2 weeks at the most. He's already made his first start in the minor leagues. He pitched just yesterday on Monday. And so right now it's about just getting his conditioning back up, making sure that he's able to throw enough pitches, get that workload number up. The White Sox have some off days this month, so fortunately the timing is decent to be able to cut loose Dallas Keuchel and not yet have Lance Lynn back and ready to go. And somebody else that made Dallas Keuchel's axing possible is the fact that Johnny Cueto was able to come in and really outperform what Dallas Keuchel was doing. I mean, that's a very low bar, but Johnny Cueto has been a fun bright spot. So right now as it stands, we look at our rotation and you got Cease, Giolito, Kopech, Cueto, and there's your 4. Lance Lynn will obviously eventually come up and push Cueto into that number 5 spot, but I think Vince Velasquez is going to get another chance to pick up some starts, I think, before Lance Lynn comes back. We'll see how that goes. Taking a look at player value ratings for the month of May, and of course this will not include May the 31st. That game has not yet happened, but taking a snapshot at May 1 through 30, Tim Anderson leads the way with a 1.4. Luis, even though he's missed a number of games, is the next most valuable player with a 1.1 WAR, followed by Jose Abreu at 0.6. Oh, and by the way, for this year, when it comes to calculating who is the winner, I'm going to do a blend, an average between Fangraphs WAR and Baseball Reference WAR, just looking at offensive WAR, though. Because, of course, we're always looking for who's going to be the best offensive player. We are not going to be factoring in fielding WAR when it comes to this. Otherwise, Luis would just blow everybody away every single time. It's not even fair. And also, Jose Abreu, being a first baseman, he wouldn't get enough value. As we see, he's just listed as a 0.6 WAR overall for the month of May. Adam Engel is actually 4th place with a 0.4. Berger at 0.3 in just 10 games. So that shows you how valuable he's been in his limited action. Reese McGuire already up here at a 0.2. And then we look at the other end, look at the negatives. Yasmani Grandal is a negative 0.1. He's been off to a slow start, along with Leury Garcia, Josh Harrison. Oh, and I should have mentioned him when talking about who might pick up some additional time in the field. I like Josh Harrison a lot. He really has not shown anything yet, but I maybe I'm just hopeful, optimistic. I like the energy and fun that he brings to the team. But yeah, he has not really performed yet this year. Moncada, in his limited time, he's been a negative 0.3. Andrew Vaughn, coming back from injury, is a negative 0.3 as well. And then A.J. Pollock at a negative 0.4. However, I think Pollock is starting to come around again. He's really actually started to come around again. Coming back from his injury, he definitely was very rusty. He started the season so hot, got injured, came back, and was flat. He seems to be getting it going again, though. When it comes to who's getting the hits, of course, it's Tim Anderson at number 1. 37 hits in 23 games. But Luis, 29 hits in 20 games. Jose Abreu, 24 in 25, and he's in the middle of a nice hit streak right now. And yeah, Adam Engel, of all people, in 25 games, which sounds like a lot, but a number of those were as defensive replacements, so he didn't get to play the entire 9 innings. 20 hits picked up in the month of May. Very good for him. Extra base-wise, first off, I'll just spoil one thing right now. No triples. Not a single triple was hit so far in the month of May. Doubles, Jose leads the way with 8, Engel with 7, Pollock and Harrison. When Harrison gets a hit, it seems to be a double. Home run-wise, Luis in that limited time, and Jose, and Gavin Sheets, also somewhat limited time, all have 3 home runs to lead the way. The next batch is 2 apiece for Tim Anderson, Jake Berger, AJ Pollock, and Yoan Moncada. So yes, Yoan, well, he hasn't been playing much and hasn't been hitting well when he was playing. He's pretty good at getting those extra base hits. Out of 8 hits overall, 1 double and 2 home runs. Who's driving him in? It's Jose. It's always Jose driving in the runs. 14 runs driven in May. Tim Anderson had 12. Luis with 11. Leury Garcia, wow, with 10. So he has made some of those hits count. Jake Berger, again, very limited time, 8 RBI in 10 games. Also 8 apiece for Gavin Sheets, Andrew Vaughn, and AJ Pollock. Yasmani Grandal is getting a lot of plate appearances. He's seen 99 plate appearances, but only 3 runs driven in. To me, I think he's been on an upswing a little bit lately. He's been taking walks a bit better now, which is something that he is usually prolific at. He hasn't been doing that nearly as much this year so far. And some of those hits are starting to fall in. Let's keep our eye on Yasmani Grandal. He's number 12 on this chart. When he show batted ball in play. Now, that is not the answer to everything, but this could show you that among balls he has put into play, he's only got a batting average of 210 on those, so he might be suffering from some severe bad luck. And Josh Harrison just as well, only a 208. When you start to look at those other numbers, the really high ones, 417 batted ball in play for Tim Anderson, you could easily make the argument that he is a little bit lucky, but really only a little, because his batting average actually backs it up a lot, 385. And we know there's just something about his swing that delivers that ball so perfectly to right field in front of the right fielder. If that happens once or twice, okay, not a big deal, but it happens consistently. So there is something about his swing. He knows how to deliver the ball right there. Luis is another one where you would want to say that he's been lucky, and maybe he is a little bit. 413 batted ball in play compared to a 341 average. Again, his average backs up most of that batted ball in play number, but maybe he's gotten a little bit lucky. However, when you factor in his exit velocity, how often he barrels up a pitch, that's what's showing you that, that seems like a very legit 341 batting average. And I want to take a look at Jose Abreu. He's another guy who seems to be really improving a lot, but his batted ball in play is just a 269. And I bring that up because, like Luis, he's been barreling up the ball really hard, hitting it very hard, and just does not have the batting average to show for it. The fact that his batted ball in play is only a 269 is showing that he's been lining out. He's been getting kind of unlucky with the fact that the hits aren't landing. And as we look to June, let's just take a quick glance at the schedule. 3 games set in Toronto, and then 3 games in Tampa Bay, and you never want to root for an injury. But Wander Franco just hit the injured list today. He is one of the most exciting young players in all of baseball, and I'm okay with the fact that the White Sox will not have to face him. And then they come home to face the Dodgers and Rangers. So as always with us, whoever gets that walk-off hit gets you bonus points. So if anybody picked Jake Berger last month, which I don't think anybody did, it would have been some bonus points coming their way. But yeah, home set against LA and Texas, and then on the road to Detroit for another day off, and then going down to Houston for a 3-game set, which is always a little extra revved up because you really want to beat them. And then coming home to take on the Blue Jays for 3 more games. And then finally, listen, look what we looked at. We've looked at high-end teams this whole month, other than the Rangers. And even the Rangers have some really top-notch players. And Marcus Semien, of course, they made some big splashes in the offseason. Blue Jays, very good team. Definitely, I would say they're an easy pick to make it into the playoffs this year. And the White Sox are having to play them 6 times this month. Detroit, they're underperforming, but we were way more afraid of them leading into the season than we are right now, probably. Of course, the Dodgers are the Dodgers, the best team in baseball for a few years in a row now. A team that is probably going to hit 100 wins in a season for the third straight year. Houston, I hate that it's true, but it's true. They're really good. And we end off against the Angels, another team with some holes in their roster, but any team that has Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on it, they're somewhat scary. So hopefully the White Sox can really take advantage of those games against Texas. Hopefully the Tigers are still down when we face them, and they've really got to take advantage of 4 games at home against the Orioles. So let's take a quick look around baseball. We're not going to dive in very deeply to all of this, but I always like to just see who is doing really well or really poorly when it comes to the last 10 games played. Kansas City, wow, they have dropped 2-8 in their last 10. And naturally, if you look up to the East, we are hitting the Blue Jays at the worst time. 5-game win streak, so they are doing well. They are playing with confidence now. And that is after having a frustrating start to the season for them. They're 7 games over 500. The White Sox, again, just at 500 right now. You could say both the Blue Jays and the White Sox are lucky to be where we are. Toronto has a run differential of -1, so they've allowed one more run than they've scored themselves, yet they're 7 games up. And the White Sox, we are at 500, but we have allowed 45 more runs than we have scored. We have just not been providing consistent enough offense. And then, you throw Dallas Keuchel out there every 5 days and he gives up a big crooked number. That's tough to come back from. Feel free to pause this if you want to take a look at this information a little more closely. Quick peek over at the National League. The Mets are on a 4-game win streak safely. Look at that, already a 9.5-game lead in the East, even though they have had to deal with some really hard injury news themselves. The Marlins, I still am really hoping that they'll be a dark horse, maybe somebody unexpected that could sneak into that final wildcard spot, but they've had a rough go of it lately and having won just 2 of their last 8, but they're still a +4 when it comes to the run differential. So that's a team that may be very unlucky. And of course, yes, there's those Dodgers. Already 118 more runs scored than allowed. That is insane. A 6.88 win percentage. So taking a quick look at the projections, I always, again, just like to see who the biggest movers and shakers are. I'll take a look at the American League first. The Blue Jays have added in the last week 14% odds to make the playoffs. They're up to a 94% chance to make the playoffs. So we unfortunately are hitting the Blue Jays at a bad time where they're playing really good baseball. And it seems like this always happens. We faced the Red Sox when they were as hot as could be. We faced the Yankees when they were as hot as could be. And we were lucky, I think. I shouldn't say lucky. They fought really hard. They played those games really well. I was happy that between those 2 teams, when we faced them recently, the White Sox went 3-3 against them. Those are 2 really on fire teams, and we were able to split. Tampa Bay also added 8% to their playoff odds. They're up to about 53.5. The White Sox, on the other side, have dropped 4.5%. Still the odds-on favorite to win the American League Central. And this is, by the way, from Baseball Prospectus. White Sox are favored right now to end the season with 89 wins ahead of Minnesota's 87. Hopefully that comes to pass. I think that would be comfortable at this point compared to what we're really seeing, where Minnesota has been on fire lately and the White Sox have been just trotting along. And as it stands right now, the White Sox have a 74% chance to make the playoffs, where the Twins are at 65.5. Going the other direction in the West, LA, the Anaheim Angels, have lost 22 percentage points to fall to about 58%. Still pretty good chances to make it, but 22% drop is a rough go of it. They are in the middle of a 5-game losing streak, having won just 3 of their last 10. They have dropped Detroit all the way down to a 0% chance to make the playoffs. I don't agree with that whatsoever. They are still a team that's worth paying attention to. They've had some injury issues to deal with as well, but they certainly got off to a terrible start. And as they always say, you can't make the playoffs in the first month of the year, but you can eliminate yourself from it. And maybe Detroit did do that. I'm not going to write them off fully yet, but the teams in the American League that are already written off, Baltimore, Detroit, Kansas City, Oakland, and technically Texas is still in it with a 1.7% chance. Best odds, well, the Yankees, 99.8% chance, and the Astros at 97, and Toronto at 94. As we head to the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies have gone on a bad run as well, dropping 13% to go to a 50-50% chance to make the playoffs. Pretty much status quo in the National League Central. Nobody's really moving around very much there. And in the West, as always, San Francisco is making a push. Usually they do it a bit later in the season, but they've gained 14% chance. Just recently, they're still pretty low, just a 32% chance to make the playoffs. And technically, in the National League, no team has a 0% chance right now. The top teams, The Dodgers are already listed at 100%, Milwaukee 99.4%, the Mets 97%, the Padres are up at almost 99%, and New York, the Mets, are the last team over 90% at 97%. Currently, the Dodgers and the Yankees are each projected to win 102 games to lead their respective divisions. I said we would take a look at the minor leagues a little bit. This is for the full season, not for the month of May, but here's what's going on in Charlotte, and I've ordered this by on-base plus slugging percentage, so there's some small sample sizes in here that kind of throw off the top. Andrew Vaughn, he was only down there 2 days for an injury rehab assignment. Eloy has 1 game in down there so far. And Yoan, when he was going down there for his injury rehab, he played 6 games and was just on fire. I wish he was able to bring that up with him to the big league level. But among regular, everyday players down at Charlotte, who is the best of the best? It's Seby Zavala, of all people, with a .962 on base plus slugging. He has logged 35 hits so far with 10 doubles and 8 home runs. So I mentioned that Reese McGuire, he might start to feel somebody breathing down his neck, trying to take his job, and that would be Seby Zavala, who has just started out the season really, really on fire. As we look down the list here, we see that Mike Rodolfo did come back. I thought, and a lot of us thought, that we were going to lose him to the Rule 5 draft because he was unprotected. Fortunately, he was able to go through unclaimed, and the White Sox did re-add him back to the minor league roster. He's not on our 40-man roster. And when it comes to Tim Anderson's absence, I was kind of excited to see that Yolbert Sanchez has made it up to AAA. We'll see soon that he did start out in AA, but he's in AAA now. Batting .295 with a .728 on base plus slugging. He's a middle infielder. I don't know how versed he is over at shortstop. He's usually a second baseman, but he's off to a really good year. He is one of our biggest prospects. So I would love to see him get the opportunity to prove himself at the major league level. The fact that he just made it up to AAA this year means he's probably not going to be accelerated to the major league level this quickly, but still something to think about. All the way down here, not having the best year. It is always interesting to see what's going on with Yermin Mercedes. We see he's listed here as a designated hitter. In the past, he had spent most of his time at catcher, so they're really just working on his hit tool, and it's not coming around so well for him this year so far. He had a great minor league year last year, but so far this year, .218 average, a on-base plus slugging under .700. He has picked up 2 home runs and 2 doubles. Across just 15 games. He did start the season injured. That is something to factor in as well. Looking at the pitching side, not that we really have to worry too much about that right now, but, well, I don't know if the International League is a very, very hitter-friendly league, but White Sox minor league starting pitchers have not been doing great. When you take a look at those ERAs, 720, 675, 661, we have to get down to Wes Benjamin here with a 3.82, and he's gone 2-0 across 7 starts. I do want to point out also Davis Martin, as we saw him make his major league debut with the White Sox this year. He's 3-1 with a 4.71 ERA. I was very, very impressed by his brief look at the majors when he came up. Take a look at Birmingham. Lennon Sosa was another name I was interested in checking out. He's a shortstop. He is a highly touted prospect for us, and he's off to a great start to the year. Non-base plus slugging in the high 900s. Across 63 hits, he's got 7 doubles, 2 triples, and 10 home runs. So he's not just getting hits, he is driving the ball. Very exciting to see. And as you see here, Yolbert Sanchez right underneath him. Those are the numbers he put up before getting the call to AAA. Batting in the high 800s when it comes to on-base plus slugging with a .353 batting average. Yeah, he was definitely ready to face some steeper competition. Really exciting to see his progression. And of course, one of the guys that I am most excited to see develop, Yoleki Cespedes, is listed there at number 9, 9th highest on base plus slugging. Not having an exceptional start to the season. Not bad either, though. It's very middling. .257 average with a 7.31 on base plus slugging. 7 home runs, 4 steals, 7 doubles, 17 runs driven in 34 games. He's somebody that I have very, very, very high hopes for. But yeah, there's still a lot of development left to do for him. And finally, speaking of a lot of development ahead, just checking in with Oscar Colas down in Single A in Winston-Salem. He is off to a very similar start, actually. .254 average, on base plus slugging in the mid 700s. He is a guy I am very excited to see make his way to the major leagues, but certainly it'll be a couple of years. 30 hits so far, 8 doubles, 1 triple, 4 home runs. All right, I'm going to make this quick because this video is going to go on longer and longer. But Leury Garcia was called out. Again, as the rule is written, letter of the law, it was enforced correctly. If you didn't see the play, Adam Engel was on second base. Leury Garcia was trying to bunt him over to third base. This was at the end. This was in extra innings. So just getting a guy 90 feet closer to home was a very, very big deal. Garcia ran to first. He was ever so barely on the fair side of the foul line between home plate and first base. About a step before he got to the base, the throw, which was fielded by the catcher, hit Garcia and then skated off into the outfield. It seemed like the ball game was over, that Adam Engel was going to run home, and that was that. Instead, interference was called, as if Leury Garcia was intentionally interfering with the play, and I don't really know one way or the other. I would assume that he did want to try to make it a more difficult throw by being a little bit more in the baseline. However, the issue is he got hit at his last step, or maybe right before his last step. He was almost at first base. And when that happened, the play is called dead. Adam Engel doesn't have to just go back to third base. He has got to go all the way back to second base. So I've got so many different issues with this. One, if you call the play dead where the interference happened, well, Adam Engel was already at third. I feel like he still should have been able to stay at third. And that could be considered an umpire's discretion thing if you want. But as the letter of the law is written, he was supposed to go back to second, and he was. The biggest issue I have is that why is first base in fair territory if the runner is supposed to run in foul territory the whole time? There's an easy way to fix this, which is something that exists. There is a base in use, and I can't even tell you if it's a little league thing, if it's a softball thing. I'm not sure. But there's a base in use that actually makes sense, where it's basically twice as wide. Half of it is in foul territory, half of it is in fair territory. If you need the runner to run in foul territory the whole time, why would the base be in fair territory? It doesn't make sense. Also, Major League Baseball has done so many things in recent years to avoid contact. Several years ago, Buster Posey, catcher for the San Francisco Giants, was run over at home plate, a clean play, a fair play, but he had a horrific leg injury that took a young star out of the game, out of the rest of the season. So what did Major League Baseball do? They made it so that wouldn't ever happen again, and made it so there was not going to be collisions with catchers in the future, that it's illegal to intentionally hit the catcher. Something that had existed for 100 years beforehand is now illegal. And I would say if Posey was fielding his position properly, if he was in position, he should have been able to take the hit and roll backwards, and it wouldn't have been this catastrophic, horrible injury. Okay, whatever. Baseball's trying to get away from injuries. Fine. Several years later, there's a very dirty play at second base that kind of stems from a clean play, where back in the day, not long ago, it was back in the day, where you could break up a double play. You slide hard. As long as you can make contact with the bag, you can do whatever you want else. And that's what caused players to have to kind of jump out of the way or risk being taken out by a base runner. Well, this is not a game full of pads and things like that, except unless you're batting. So they took that out of the game, that you cannot make contact with the fielder. You have to slide to the base, just directly to the base. And if you make contact with the fielder, it's an automatic double play. Basically, you're out, and whoever the fielder is trying to throw to, that base, that player's out as well. And again, it's about avoiding contact. First base, contact happens all the time because the first baseman and the runner are trying to get to the same exact spot. And again, you compound that with this asinine rule about the path of the base runner going from home plate to first base. They're running as fast as they can to try to stay safe. So why would you intentionally curve outside of the baseline to stay in foul territory to then come back? If you could show somebody a play, and they might not be a big baseball fan, and it doesn't make sense to them, maybe it just doesn't make sense overall. So that's my pitch. I think I've probably said it on a past live stream that the foul ball, that the base on the foul side and the in-play fair side, that's what needs to happen. Or you just make the rule that if the runner's in the dirt, and like obviously if the runner is going to go all the way into the infield grass, that's out of the baseline, they're out, that's fine. But hey, as long as their feet are in the dirt, in the baseline, then that's okay. Make one of those two things happen. But the way it stands right now, it just doesn't make sense. And anytime it comes up, even if it goes in our favor, I'm like, okay, well, I'll take it, but I still hate the rule. So, okay, really quickly again, Dallas Keuchel is gone. For the longest time, and I think on accident, on Cots baseball contracts, Dallas Keuchel's contract was listed for this year and next year as well. An $18 million expenditure next year, 18 and a half, whatever it was. And maybe that's how they calculate it when it's a vesting option, that they just kind of assume it's a guaranteed option for their calculations. Whatever the case, the option is not going to vest because it would have vested had Keuchel pitched 160 innings this year. I don't think that was going to happen anyway because he just can't get more than a couple innings in on a start, and he had only earned less and less playing time by how the season was going. So that said, as we look over at the 2023 season now, we've got another $18 million removed from the books. And as Cots Baseball Contracts identifies this, they have accounted for league minimum salaries as well as minor league players and player benefits. And we are looking at the competitive balance tax threshold, which right now the White Sox budget for that is at about $140.4 million, we'll say. That tax threshold will kick in at $232 million next season. And that puts the White Sox at about $91.6 million under that tax barrier right now, which you're allowed to go over it, but then there's a tax that you have to pay. Fortunately, though, $91.6 million is a lot of room to play with. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves because we do have a couple of other things to factor in. There is a club option next year on Tim Anderson, which will obviously be picked up. That is $12.5 million, a nice raise on his $9.5 million he's making this year. So that will eat into that. Also, and we couldn't possibly have these numbers yet, but let's see. Lucas Giolito will head into arbitration for his third and final time. He's going to get a raise on his $7.5 million this year. Hopefully the White Sox are able to work out a long-term deal, but at the very least, either way, any way you cut it, he's definitely going to get a raise on that $7.5 million. There's an option for Josh Harrison. As it stands right now, I think that will not get picked up. Ronaldo Lopez will get a raise on this year's salary, which is about $2.6 million. It's going to be negligible, especially if he continues just being a middle reliever as he has. I would assume that'll be under $5 million, but still, that is some more money that'll come out of that 91. Adam Engel will go to ARB for his third and final time. If he stays with the White Sox, that would be a raise on his $2 million amount. Kyle Crick, I think he's probably a non-tender candidate. We'll see. Right now he's getting $2.25 million. He goes to arbitration next year. First-time ARB eligible players here. We have a lot of them. Dylan Cease. It's going to be a big raise over that $750,000 he's making this year. Jose Ruiz, probably not a huge amount, but he's definitely going to get a raise over his league minimum salary. Michael Kopech, first time into arbitration. He's going to make a nice little payday. Again, it's league minimum now, so he probably will it'll be a couple million. Hard to say exactly unless he has a Cy Young caliber season, then we really have to figure it out. Definitely an extension candidate too, I'd say. Reese McGuire, just his first time into ARB this coming year. That would be a very small raise. Same for Danny Mendick, and we'll see about Danny Mendick because he's getting called up and sent down. I'm not sure if he's going to accrue enough Major League service time to actually make it to arbitration this year. Let's see. Matt Foster, first time into arbitration. He's a guy that we're going to want to keep around as long as he stays healthy. So fortunately, even though we have a big ARB class, most of them are first-timers. Again, like we said, Giolito is going to be the biggest, easily, by far the biggest expenditure to have to worry about. Also, somebody that we have to think about, Jose Abreu. Right now he's in the final year of a contract. He's making $19.1 million this year. Does he come back next year? I think he would want to, and I hope the White Sox would want him back. I don't think the White Sox would want to pay $19 million for him, but would he take a slightly lesser contract? He is just getting up there in age, and of course, understandably, teams don't want to shell out big money when it comes to aging sluggers. They generally don't age very well. Jose is doing great. He is really having a great season yet again, and I think he's going to continue to improve on his numbers. His numbers don't look wonderful right now, but I think he's going to keep on building. So that said, Dallas Keuchel coming off the books, $18 million right there. That is going to help a lot. Of that $91 million, even if we bring back Jose Abreu and bring up back our entire arbitration eligible class, we'll still have, $50 million, something like that, to spend on next season, which is a very positive and exciting thing. Okay, this was our extended length video. I want to thank everybody for hanging in there with me. I know I have not been posting nearly enough. I did do one of those shorts, and I do thank the couple of people that gave it a thumbs up, and one person asked a question. I will answer it. But I want to do those more frequently. So if people have questions about anything baseball related, feel free to put it in the comments here, and I'll do a short video, which will be one of those cell phone friendly 1 minute long videos. I want to try to do those at least every week. I know I was thinking about doing live streams before the games on Sunday, and the weekends just have been not possible for me. So it was a good idea that didn't come to pass at all. And I'll just be very honest with you. I've been suffering from some big time burnout. I do YouTube videos for my work. And while I love I can't complain too much. I'm making videos. It's a cool thing. It's a fun thing. But when you're doing it all the time, all day, and then you think about, what do I want to do for fun? Do I really want to sit down and make another video? It's tough because I love talking White Sox. I love talking baseball, and I love interacting with you all. But it's just been very difficult to get going. I think I've gotten through that hump, and I think I'm getting over it. I think I'm kind of getting my engine revved up a little bit. So doing the shorts will be a fun and easy way. And I know I'm actually excited for the first time in a long time to do all the tabulations and calculations and get caught up on all of the pick to click contests, last year's and this year's. So that is something that's on the horizon. Also, I want to say that I was able to make it to Fenway Park recently, and we shot some video in Boston at a game where the Red Sox beat the Astros. Fun rooting against the Astros, but we'll talk about that in a different video. I'm going to show you video from the event, from the game, from around Fenway. I did not think I was going to love that park as much as I did. I mean, I was excited to see it, but I loved that park. Very cool place. Anyway, I hope everyone's having a great start to their summer. I hope you are all able to enjoy the 3-day weekend that ended yesterday. And again, thanks for your patience. Until I see you next, play ball and go Sox.